Hey guys, what's up? So today we're going to be painting feathers, and this is all the process for it. If you want to know how to paint these feathers, just stay tuned. Now let's get started. Hey guys, what's up? So today we're going to be talking about feathers. I made this line art and we're just going to start right with it. So here are my references, and we're going to start by making some cool colors on these feathers, some base colors. So I'm going to work on a layer before the line art, and I'm going to pick a gray color. Whenever I use white, I use a gray color, because then later if you want to change it to a brighter color, it's easier this way. So I'm just going to start by applying this gray color in this one. I was thinking I'm going to make one traditional like white feather, another of a color, and one like with spots, or kind of like it could be said like have like stains or something, but it's going to be color. It's not like a stain of dirt, it's more like a stain of other colors, like a color scheme. So let's paint this one in white first. Taking a little bit of time here, but I hope it's okay to you. You should take I sometimes use a timer. I'm not using it right now because I don't think it's worth it for this one. But normally I shouldn't take more than 10 minutes in each phase of this tutorial, so careful with the tips. I'm going to paint this one in kind of like a brown color, maybe darker, something like this. Looks cool. I wanted to do 3 examples because if I do just one, it's not like the real case. The real thing is that there's a lot type of feathers, and painting just one color will be like telling you that there's just one type of feather, and it doesn't. Same with the sky tutorials. Like I have to do night sky, afternoon, morning, stuff like that, because the clouds change with all the different atmospherics and everything. So I'm trying to be as fast as possible so you guys don't get bored. I think I can help myself with the with the smudge tool. I can maybe speed this out just a little, not too much. Makes difference, but not too much. Alright, let me see, let me clean here. What else? We could have like the center should be brighter, so we're going to put a little bit of white in here, something like this. Looks cool. Something like that. Alright, and we're going to have dark spots. Well, actually this first near the beginning we could have like a little bit more brighter, something like this. I'm doing another layer so I can change. Because I'm working in another layer, I can change the opacity of the layer, and it will be like I'm testing how much of this new color I want. If I want more, I just put more percentage. I just trying to find the one I like the most. And it shouldn't be too much, because if you want it brighter later, you can just paint it brighter. and don't start with the bright color right away. So something like this, I think it's okay. And now we're going to be working with some dark spots. Maybe something like this. Something like this. All right. It doesn't look too organic. Let's make it with a little bit of curves. Something like this I think is better with a little bit of curves. Straight doesn't look too natural. I'm definitely going to go darker in the tip. Something like this. Something like this I think is okay. Let me think. What else can we do here? I think it's fine. You need more variations in the colors. Maybe a little bit more dark in the tip. Let's use a darker color to see what happens. Let's try with black. Something like this. That looks way better. Totally. Alright, let's use a little bit of bright color here to kind of change things a little bit. There we go. And now let's use some blue. We're going to go darker in this one. I'm going to go dark in the first part of the feather. You can go dark on some feathers, and then you can turn to a bright color opposite to this one, because this is dark in the tip. We wanted to make this one light. I'm going to use a layer down so I can blend that with a brighter color, something like this. See, it looks cool. I just made a little bit of blending there with the two colors, and I'm gonna just put it there, not too much bright because we want to make the highlights later. Alright, so something like this. I'm gonna have to make a little pause. Okay, so now I blend the colors, the blue ones. Really easy blending, nothing fancy at all. I came back to the layer on the top to blend a little more, and it's basically just trying to find a soft transition, but it's not like something complex because we are just working with the base colors right now. So what I was thinking is that this little tube that the feathers have could be a little bit more dark, kind of like I don't know, opposite to the other one, that was really light. That way it will look more interesting, I think. Same as the reference that you can see on the top right. But I'm going to put black on this first one. This one, little hairs that came out of here. Something like this. It's going to look awesome. Okay, so now that I have my base colors, my 3 feathers, I'm going to collapse those layers. I'm going to put the liner a little bit less obvious, and I'm going to just copy this. Let me blend this a little bit more, something like this. Let me see, kind of like that. And this is it for the base colors. Now we're going to go with shadows and occlusion, which they don't have too much now that they are just 3 feathers kind of like floating in the air. So what we can do is just add a little bit of you know, like little dark spaces between the feathers or something like that, something like this. And we can maybe do change the opacity on the layer. That way it will look more like, I had to change the flow to 100% because I was getting a really crazy result here. But okay, now we are back on track. Let's just put a little bit of darkness between some of the feathers, and I'm going to use very thin brush. And because I did it in another layer, I can change the opacity like really quick to test out some different amounts of darkness. So something like this I think is fine. Just little lines here and there, because we don't really need any kind of like harp shadows or something. Maybe a little bit like what I'm doing right here at one side of the little tube that is in the middle. But definitely nothing like too like deep shadows, nothing at all, nothing like that. Now we come back to this one. Want to put the same thing. We're going to do little, actually let me do this one as if it was kind of like this shape. So these ones are kind of like hidden to one side, so I'm going to make it a little bit darker. I did another layer so I can change now the opacity, something like this. I think it's going to look interesting. Something like this. Less in the edges. Here in the edges we are having less darkness because it's going to be bright later because of the how it's called, the backlight. We can do kind of the same here, but let's do the opposite. Let's do this part as if it was the part that was lift up. So this is going to be the darker, it's against the light. We can do the same in here. We're going to do little variations like in this reference that we got here, so it doesn't look so straight. We can add these little differences in the shape by just changing the shadow a little bit. I'm starting to work now in 40% opacity, so that's really important because that way you can get more subtle color changes, and that's really important that you get those. Same in here. Let's put a little bit of those shadows, maybe more intense in the middle. Here not so much. You are going to notice it more in the white one. Something like this. Maybe we should add a little bit of more darkness in the center, more kind of like in the reference. I'm going to create another layer so I can go darker. Something like this. I think it's fine. I think that is okay. Let's try something here. Yeah. Here we're going to do a little bit more of those effects. The highlights are going to be really fun to do. Something like this. Maybe we could add some dark in the blue one also. And I don't know. Give me 1 second. Okay, now let's just add some little dark in the blue one to finish with this step. Maybe a little bit here. And while you're doing this, you can think of any idea that you could use on the next step, which is going to be the highlights. So these tiny variations in shape and color are the ones that are going to make your image look richer and more and cooler. Something like this. Alright, so let's go to the next step, which is specular highlights. Okay, so for the highlights I'm going to be using white in the first one, of course, because of the color that it already has. We have to go really bright. We're going to mostly use a really thin brush. Well, because of the resolution that I'm using, which is really low, I'm going to use a kind of like a middle brush, not too thin, because if not we couldn't see anything. But look, I'm going to be making also at the same time. I'm going to use the smudge tool to do this in the tip, see, in the borders. I'm going to give it a really neat look. I'm using a square brush, but you can use any brush, I believe, to do the same kind of effect. Doesn't matter really what kind of brush you're using, just you have to use the smudge tool. Here we're going to do the same. I'm using 70% on the smudge tool. It's giving me that really cool effect, like a feather-like effect. And I'm going to concentrate in some parts. I'm going to concentrate the bright in some parts. See? And I leave other without any brights at all. That way it looks like it's not the same direction. I really like this part. It's not the same direction in all the feather. but it changes. In the tip we could add a little bit more, something like this, and I'm going to left the other side almost without any kind of highlights, because it's going to be kind of like in shadow, so you shouldn't have any highlights at all. But I'm going to do the thing with the brush, the smudge tool. Actually, I'm going to do a little bit of highlights in here, like some of the light passed through the other side, something like that. And here maybe where it starts, because it's a more rigid part of the feather, we could have some highlights, because you can see it from the other side where the light is. The little tube should have some highlights. I feel like I need more resolution, but I don't want to abuse of it. I'm going to put little, really tiny hairs on where the feather starts, and kind of like more disorganized, something like this. It's coming out really cool. And here a little, something like this. It's going to be really cool. I think it needs a little bit of color, but I'm not sure. Maybe a little bit, as I can see on the reference, it could have a little bit of reddish color here, something like this maybe. But more a little bit darker, something like that. It looks better. Okay, let's go to the next one. But I feel like I want to work on the blue one. Let's go in the blue one first. I'm going to use, as you can see in this one that I colored, the specular of the feather keeps being white, but I'm going to use a little bit of color in there. I'm going to put some blue. I'm going to use 40% opacity just in case, and maybe that way it will look a little bit more interesting, something like this. Am I working in another layer? Yes. I'm going to create a new one. Let's put some specular in here. This is too bright color. Let's use a less bright color, but not get rid of the one you already put it. Something like this. I think it will look better. And that change of colors is going to look interesting also. Do not erase everything that you do. Just keep working on it till you find the result that you wanted. But if you were painting in oil or something, you wouldn't have any chance to change what you're doing, so it's kind of like foolish to do it on the computer just because you can. Something like this, looking good. Maybe a little bit here, and this side is going to be really dark because it's not looking at any of the light, mostly shadows. Let's use a kind of like a bigger brush, and I'm going to put some smudge tool on the edges. We later are going to work on the tips of these feathers because they need to be lit from the back too. So let's work on the tips. something like that. And this side I'm going to put a little bit of highlighting here, just a little, something like this, just in case that you think that the light passed through the other side, something like this. I think it's good. Let me clean the edges with the smudge tool. Just do it in the direction and you'll be fine. The direction of the same feather hairs. I'm going to add a little bit more hairs in the bottom of it, in the where it starts, and I'm going to put a really bright highlight on the tube, something like this, because it kind of feels like that part is plastic or something. But notice what I'm doing. I'm not doing the same highlight in everything, just putting little dots where I think it should be more bright. Here it should be a little bit more bright, so I'll put a little dot in there. Also in here, let's put a little bit more in here too. And we could use some white. We could use some white in the middle of the feather also. Let's put a little bit in there, something like this. Something like that I think is fine. Too much, let's change it a little bit, something like that. Okay. Alright, now let's just go with the brown feather. We're working the highlights right now. Let's see what we can do. Here we want to try changes of the highlight. Some parts could be one bright, one color of the brights, and other can be different color. Let's try something like that. But this is the part that's going to be lit. So we're going to be really bright on the brighter browns, and in the darker ones we're going to use another color, something like this. And I'm just putting them in there. Also, we gotta concentrate at some point. We gotta concentrate in some parts to be brighter than the rest. That way, you understand that there's where it's more concentrated. The highlights are more concentrated in that part than in other parts. And now that we have that color in the back, we're going to take the same color that we have and going to go bright but to the top like this, and that's going to make a really cool specular effect because it's changing colors. And notice that I'm not using any special brush to paint the feather, the little hairs. I'm just doing it by hand. Going to erase a little here. Going to go brighter in this part. Something like that. We're gonna go and do the same on this one, but it should be a little bit darker color, slightly. Something like this. Didn't come out as cool as I expected, but it's fine. I guess because of the color changes, it doesn't understand too much where the highlights are. Let's do it in white to see if it works. Let's concentrate on this side. I'm going to use a bigger brush. Something like that, I think it works. But with the color that we have already in the bottom, we came out with a good mix, so don't forget to put a lot of colors. Those color variations make it look really more interesting. So I just gotta do the edge thing. Kind of like this, really quick. I know you doing it in both directions, like every time I do one direction and go back, I lift the pen. Okay, so now I'm going to take this color and put more little hairs in the bottom. Something like this. Alright, now we have this one. Let's put some brights on the little tube. Oh, here we will have some nice highlight effect. Let's put in here. Right. Okay, so we need bounces and reflections. For that we need kind of like another color, because reflection is more like a lighting effect. And we're just going to let's use something like maybe bluish gray or something. Let's put that in here. We're going to draw it like it's coming from this part. So I'm going to just put some, not too much, okay, just a little. Like it's being lit from another point of source of light, kind of like this. But then we're gonna change the opacity a little bit, so it's really subtle. Kind of like that, yeah. Here we're going to do the same. Doesn't look too much like it in this one. For a moment I thought it wasn't recording, but I am. And here a little bit. Let's use a little bit more of color. And put a little bit of that reflection color in here. That blue one is coming like super awesome, really nice. Okay, maybe something like this. And in this one, let's put a little bit of that color, but I think because of the color is too bright, I'm going to use a darker blue, something like this. There's a reflection of light in there. Not too much. Bounces, we're not going to work with bounces on this one because there's no point. But we are going to do backlights. I'm going to take a bright color from these feathers, but I'm going to try to do something with the dodge tool. Yeah, the dodge tool works fine, but remember that the dodge tool have to be set on highlights here on the range, because if it's mid-tones it's going to go white. If it highlights, it's going to use the same color. So we're going to go with highlights. We're going to do this. See how I get those sharp colors? Same in here. I'm going to do the same. And here, of course, it's going to go to white. So let's not overdo this, alright? I'm just trying to do some interesting tips, but let's not overdo it. I think something like that is just fine. Okay, so I'm going to go with this bright color. I took it, I'm going to pick up even brighter on the color palette. I'm going to just make some of the tips look that bright. Something like this. Actually, I'm going to try working in a layer under to see what happens. I think it's going to come out better. Yeah, it's actually a lot better to work on a layer under. It looks more like it should look. Something like this is just perfect. Try not to rush, but I don't want the video to be so long. Okay, and at the end, when we have all this, we're gonna go through a little bit of detailing. But let me change the color of the highlight a bit here, because it changed the color of the feather. So if it's really dark, let's go with a white color, but where it has color, you can use the blue one. Something like this, I think is just fine. Let's use the color here too. And remember that I'm working on a layer that is on the back. Alright. Now in this one, let's use a really bright brown color. I'm going to do something at the end you guys are going to like. I'm going to go and put some really bright color later with a soft brush. Actually, you know what works? Using a little bit of bigger brush and then using the smudge tool. Just find out. The thing with the smudge tool is you don't get that sharp look. It's soft. It looks nice, but it's really soft finished. So depending on what you're doing, it could work perfectly, but sometimes it could not work that good. Maybe we could have more backlight on the tip in this one. something like this. And the white one, I'm not sure what I want to accomplish with the white one because it's white. Well, let me see. I don't know how much can I burn that color. I think it's fine already how it is. So let me just do something really quick. I'm going to create a new layer on the back, and I'm going to use a soft brush, and I'm going to take that same color, a little bit brighter maybe. I'm going to go behind it, but not so bright. Let's use something like this, and change the opacity a little bit. Something like that, I think is fine. Here, let's do it with the brown, but I'm going to do that in the finishing touches. Okay, so first you can do some corrections on the contrast and brightness. I'm going to put a little bit more of contrast, a little bit more of brightness, that's it. And I don't know what else can I change in them. I think they'll look great. I'm going to put a little bit more of highlight in this one. Now let's use a sharp brush to see what happens. I think the hard brush can have like a nice touch, but you gotta be careful because it's hard, so they're going to look really sharp. From far away, I think it looks awesome. We need to add a few little more hairs in here. Let's see what else. A little bit of darkness. See where it starts. Something like this, and put more hairs, a little bit more hairs. Also here, let's put a little bit more of hairs, white ones. Like this. Alright, so I think this is it. I think this is it for the feathers tutorial. I really hope you like it. Let's see if I can do a little bit of I don't know, like changing the curves to see what happened. Let me fix this really quick. Remember, you were the ones that voted for this. Stay tuned on the Facebook page to vote for the new ones. I'm thinking of what the theme could be for the next tutorials. If you have any suggestions, just write me a message on Facebook or on YouTube. I'll read it eventually. Let's do some changes in the curves to see what happens. This is the last one, this one. Adjustments. Let's see, curves. And I'm going to make the brights a little bit more yellower and the darks a little bluer. I always use those settings. They look really nice. Also, let's try the advantage of detail, and let's use the drop shadow to see what happens. They look really flat. Yeah, totally. They look so unrealistic with that shadow. I'm going to take it off, and I didn't like the curve so much, so I'm just going to left it this way. Let me put maybe some color in the background. Let me see if it looks okay. I always use purple, don't ask me why, because I really don't know. But maybe for this one I could use some orange. Or I'm just trying too much weird stuff. Well, orange doesn't look that bad. It's just so it's not just a flat color in there in the background. Something more, maybe cooler. Make it pop out. Alright guys, this is it. I hope you like this tutorial. Please get the extra content, the additional content in the link up there if you like to see some more stuff, more advanced stuff, and that will also help me a lot because it's going to fund some of my projects that I have. So thank you very much. See you in the next chapter.